right, we're just about to go live, and I believe we are. And let me get us recording. I'm
Oh, Saturday we're going to do a round robin. Okay, so
Yeah.
okay.
yes. On Saturday we're going to be doing for the Shakespeare's poems. We'll just
The
sort of
long poem.
alternate. Yeah,
Okay.
the longer poems, because actually there's a sonnet thing going on because the sonnet slam is also happening on Saturday. But hey, welcome everyone. I'm Paul Sugarman with the Instant Shakespeare Company, and today we're going to celebrate Shakespeare because this is April 23rd, which is generally thought of as Shakespeare's birthday. Although we don't know for sure that it was his birthday, although we do know it was the day he died. But he was baptized on April 26th, and April 23rd is often thought of because usually it would be they'd be baptized like within a few days after they were born. So that made sense that he could have been born on April 23rd. And also April 23rd for the English is a big day because it's St. George's Day. And St. George is the patron saint of England. And of course, Shakespeare is one of the greatest English exports.
Is that St. George and the Dragon? Is that the story of
Yes, St.
George
George and the Dragon.
Right.
Yes, who slew the dragon. Yes. And so that's so it's always good to celebrate it. It would have been his 462nd birthday, or the 410th anniversary of the day that he died. So we already did one at 1 o'clock today with Charles Weinstein and Kenneth Wayne and myself, where we did some speeches and celebrated Shakespeare. And so we're going to do it again here with Jennifer Finger and Jackie Margolis. So who's got some Shakespeare to share?
I'll start off.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. I'm actually going to start off with the sonnet. So this will be number 130, which happens to be one of my favorites because of the message. My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wires, black hairs grow on her head. I have seen roses damasked, red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare.
Great.
That's pretty.
Well done. Thank you.
Are you going to do anything, Paul? You should do something, Paul.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll do actually sonnet 116, but in original pronunciation, or at least my attempt at original pronunciation, because then it actually rhymes at the end. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is a star to every wandering bark, whose worth unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within their bending sickle's compass comes. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of dumb. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved.
That's nice.
Wow.
Okay. I'll do this one. Okay. Number 8. Music to hear. Why hearest thou music sadly? Sweets with sweets war not. Joy delights in joy. Why lovest thou that which thou receivest not gladly, or else receivest with pleasure thine annoy. If the true concord of well-tuned sounds by unions married do offend thine ear, they do but sweetly chide thee who confound in singleness the parts that thou shouldst bear. Mark how one string's sweet husband to another strikes each and each by mutual ordering, resembling sire and child and happy mother, who all in all one pleasing note do sing, whose speechless song, being many seeming one, sings this to thee, thou singer wilt prove none. Okay, I should learn how to do
Hey,
that one better.
that's a
Okay.
pretty sonnet.
Yeah, it's a nice one. It is interesting that like the first sonnets, they're all sort of about encouraging like have babies.
Right, 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 right.
Yeah.
I always liked that one. There was another one I saw that I liked, but
Yeah.
oh,
Um,
there's 24 here. I never did this before, and I never did it aloud, so let's see how it sounds. My eye hath played the painter, and has steeled thy beauty's form and table of my heart. My body is the frame wherein 'tis held, and perspective it is best painter's art. For though the painter must you see his skill to find where your true image pictured lies, which in my bosom shop is hanging still, that hath his windows gazed with thine eyes. Now see what good turns eyes for eyes have done. Mine eyes have drawn thy shape, and thine for me are windows to my breast, where through the sun delights to peep, to gaze therein on thee. Yet eyes this cunning want to grace their art, they draw but what they see, know not the heart. Well, that's my first attempt at that one.
Mhm.
You have to keep doing these things to really like learn how to, do something.
yeah, and they're sonnets. They're special because they're different from the plays because the plays are definitely meant to be performed and heard aloud, whereas the sonnets are also they. I mean, I think they're great spoken aloud, of course, but there's so many. He's got a lot more different layers, even in like the 14 lines of a sonnet.
I
So
know they're
Yeah.
kind of. I mean, it takes a while to really truly understand them. You have to really work on them.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, they are. I mean, and there's so many great ones and so many great quotes from them. I just want to, I mean, give a shout out to the Sonnet Slam they do every year. Rebecca Hall has been doing that for a number of years, which is very good, where they read through all of the sonnets. We've done that. We did that a few times, but for instance, Shakespeare, our focus is really doing all of the plays. So that's why it's going to be a special thing this Saturday to do the poems, since we
Yeah.
we did that before, but never on Zoom before. So
I'll read one more and then I have a little part I'll try to do. Okay.
Okay.
Number 27. Weary with toil, I haste me to my bed. The dear repose for limbs with travel tired. But then begins a journey in my head to work my mind when body's work expired. For then my thoughts from far where I abide intend a zealous pilgrimage to thee, and keep my drooping eyelids open wide, looking on darkness which the blind do see, save that my soul's imaginary sight presents their shadow to my sightless view, which like a jewel hung in ghastly night makes black night beauteous and her old face new. Though thus by day my limbs, by night my mind, for thee and for myself, no quiet find. I'm going to study that one sometimes. There's more that I just learned.
yeah, that is
I
such a
have to
great one.
study that one. That's a
Yeah.
nice one. I'm going to learn that
Yeah.
one. Anyway, anybody doing something else? If not, I'll read
I'll,
some.
I'll just
Do something else.
Okay, I'll do something else. This is something that just has to get done at any Shakespeare festival just because this is going to be the All the World's a Stage speech. All the world's a stage. And all the men and women, really players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. His acts being 7 ages. First the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. And then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining, morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths, and bearded like the pard, jealous in humor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly with good capon lined, with eyes severe, and beard of formal cut, full of wide saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The sixth stage shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big, manly voice, turning again to a childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange, eventful history, is second childish in mere oblivion. Sun teeth, sun eyes, sun taste, sun everything.
Great. That was nice.
Thanks.
That was really
Great,
good.
thank you. Yes, that's a
Okay.
good one.
I'm going to do a piece from The Winter's Tale.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, cut my lace, lest my heart cracking it break too. What studied torments tyrant has for me? What wheels, racks, fires? What flaying, boiling, and leads or oils? What old or newer torture must I receive, whose every word deserves to taste of thy most worst? Thy tyranny, together working with thy jealousies, fancies too weak for boys, too green and idle for girls of 9. Oh, think what they have done, and then run mad, indeed, stark mad, for all thy bygone fooleries were but spices of it, that thou betrayest Polixenes. 'Twas nothing, that did but show thee of a fool, inconstant and damnable and grateful. Nor was it much thou would have poisoned good Camillo's honor, to have him kill a king. Poor trespasses, more monstrous standing by, whereof I reckon the casting forth to crows thy baby daughter, to be or none or little, though a devil would have shed water out of fire ere done it. Nor is it directly laid to thee the death of the young prince, whose honorable thoughts high for one so tender, cleft the heart that could conceive a gross and foolish sire, blemished his gracious dam. This is not no laid to thy answer, but the last, O lords, when I have said, cry woe. The queen, the sweetest, dearest creature's dead, and then just for it not dropped down yet. I say she's dead. I'll swear it, if word nor oath prevail not, go and see. If you can bring tincture or luster in her lip, her eye, heat outwardly or breath within, I'll serve you, as I would do the gods. But, O thy tyrant, do not repent these things, for they are heavier than all the woes can stir. Therefore betake thee to nothing but despair. 1,000 knees, 10,000 years together, naked, fasting upon a barren mountain, and still winter and storm perpetual could not move the gods to look that way thou wert. Well, that's a first read, right?
Wow, great, thank you.
Nice.
Yes, that's
That
really
is,
great. She's
that was
really,
not,
really lets him have it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I could do
Yeah,
more.
that's like one of those female badass speeches in Shakespeare. Wow.
Yeah, I could do better with that, though. It
Yeah.
needs more thought, but I thought I'd just do something tonight.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of memorized ones, but I've done them before, so I thought I'd just read some stuff that I don't usually do, just for
Uh,
fun.
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. That's the thing, and that's what's so good. I mean, even though it's like 27 years of doing these readings, it's like there's always more that you can find from them because they're just sort of like so rich and so
Uh-huh.
full of things.
Yeah. I'll do one. This one is last year when I playmastered Henry V. I wanted to be Henry V and do this one, but I ended up giving it to Andrew Parks. But I'll try it now.
Okay.
I've done it in Jeffrey's class. So let's see how it goes now. What's he that wishes so? My cousin Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are now to do our country loss. And if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one man more. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It yearns me not if men my garments wear. Such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive. No, faith, my cuz, wish not a man from England. God's peace. I would not lose so great an honor as one man more, methinks, would share from me for the best hope I have. Oh, do not wish one more. Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship is to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when the day is named and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall live this day and see old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is St. Crispian. Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, these wounds I had on Crispin's day. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot, but he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names, familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispin Crispian shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition. And gentlemen in England, now abed, shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whilst any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's day.
Great, thank you. Yes, that's such a wonderful, rousing speech.
Yeah. That and the once more into the breach speech are two of the most inspirational speeches you're ever going to hear.
Yeah, yeah, no, and this one even. I mean, and that's why it was so sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a good one. That's why it was so I mean, and like the Branagh Henry V is just such a great one of the all-time best Shakespeare movies, and just so good.
Yeah.
And also it's like you can also do stuff like as he does with the music underneath it, and I think on there's various things on YouTube. There was one of like a little kid who was like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 years old doing the speech.
Yeah. The other I think really inspirational speeches come from like Joan and Henry VI Part 1.
Yeah. Yeah, well, one of the things that I'd like to do is for one that is coming up for us, the play of Sir Thomas More, which we believe is partially by Shakespeare, and this is in the speech. This is the scene where Thomas More is trying to stop the riot that's going on. This is the historical fact how Thomas More first sort of came to prominence. He was just kind of like a sheriff, and the way he was able to deal with these riots really lent him prominence and got him into a better, more notice, a better position, got to be chancellor and all that sort of stuff. And then,
Oh yeah.
In the end, they sentence him to death or kill him, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, actually, A Man for All Seasons really tells the story well because of his Catholic faith And when
Yeah, he
Henry
becomes a
switched
martyr and then they
England, he
canonized him.
refused it. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, there's also one of the things that is interesting to note and to look at, like the bringing up the bodies and those dramatizations, in that he was pretty vicious himself. You know, he's like sainted and all of this sort of stuff, but he actually tortured people. You know, so
Yeah.
but anyways,
That
but
was
Thomas
standard
More is
procedure in Elizabethan times.
yeah. Yeah. Well, this was the Tudor times, the earlier Tudor days under Henry, who while after being declared defender of the faith for attacking Martin Luther, then when he couldn't get his divorce, he'd said, "No, I think we do want to be Protestant in England. Let's have a church where I'm the head of the church." So yeah, and Thomas More didn't like that. And but what's interesting about the play of Sir Thomas More is that under Elizabeth there was this play that they believe Shakespeare and other people, including Henry Chettle and Anthony Munday, worked on, that they thought it was never approved for production. So we only have it because it's this manuscript and these various pieces, and that part of it, one couple of pages, are what are known as Hand D, and it's believed that it is Shakespeare's own handwriting, which is like the largest sort of collection of his writing that we have, because really the only sort of actual writing we have from him are his signatures on papers, and some of them are not very good at all.
Well,
But
he hand wrote all his plays, and what did he do then? Have them printed?
Well, what he would do, I mean, the sort of the process of how they do it is that he'd write it, and then like make corrections on it, which were then the foul papers, and then they'd sort of he'd turn it over to the sort of playhouse, the stage manager, whoever would they would then sort of put in stage directions and stuff, and then sometimes it would be printed. That's one of the things. I mean, the things we get from it are actually, Hamlet makes a really interesting story in terms of that you had first a sort of pirated edition that came out, the bad quarto, as it's called, the first quarto, which looks to be more of a memorial reconstruction than actually having it, to the good quarto, which scholars believe are from his papers. I'm not sure whether they say foul or fair, but his sort of papers, because it doesn't have as much stage directions as sort of playhouse texts do. And then the folio, which is from many years later, is very different, and it has a lot more of the stage directions that.
So in other words, he wrote everything out by hand. Then he gave it to a stage manager. The stage manager made corrections, entrances, exits, whatever, and then took it to the printer. So the printer would print up scripts so that each actor in the company would have it.
No. The printing, actually, we don't know that Shakespeare really wanted any of his books printed. He did want his poems published. I mean, because he wrote.
But I mean, how did all the actors have to read their parts?
Oh, it's such a great question. What they would get, well, because also you wouldn't want to give the actors the whole play, because they could then steal it and sell it to another company. So what they get are rolls where you just sort of have
with what you
They
call
just had their particular
scrolls.
scenes in them.
yeah, where it's just basically they're just given, like, you just have your cues, and then and your lines, and so that's what you work on it. And actually, Patrick Tucker, who wrote the book Secrets of Acting Shakespeare, and who, along with Neil Freeman, was a really great champion of the first folio. He had his company for a while, which was Original Shakespeare Company, where they would not rehearse at all. They would just give people their cue scripts, and then they would like sort of meet and just take a little time to work out what sort of like staging, where the fight's going to be and that sort of stuff. And then they just do it without doing it. And it's like, because you don't know when you're looking at your scroll, you've got, okay, I've got a line I've got this cue, and then I've got a line, and then I've got this cue, but you don't know how long there is between the lines. So it really
I
forces
did a
you
whole
to
show.
have to
What's it?
listen.
Not Catherine. What's her name? Uh, God, why can't I remember her
Margaret?
name? She's married to a very tall actor who's even worked with us. She,
Carrie Edel
yeah,
Isaacman, right?
right, yeah,
Oh,
right.
yeah.
We did a whole play using scrolls. We each had a scroll, and we had to watch it all the time and watch our cues. You know, it was fun. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Patrick Tucker also put together some packages for plays like that. And when I
Uh-huh.
was working with Actors Shakespeare Company, we worked with those. And when we did King John, we made up our own cue scripts to do
Do
that.
we not?
And I really, it's great because it's like then when you just, and it's also for me, I find it really great for memorizing because you just have your part and your cues, and it's easy to keep going over it lots of times, which as we know is the real secret of
Yeah.
memorizing lines.
I used to, when I was younger, I used to my memory was phenomenal. And nowadays I say, God, how they memorize all those lines. Yeah, but I was going through the pile of scripts and dumping them of that, and I found one script, and I couldn't believe I did it. For a showcase, it was all one line. It's page and pages and pages and pages. I said, I don't believe my mind did that, but I was in that show, and we did that show. You don't remember sometimes the stuff you've done. Time
Yeah.
goes by. I've seen so many plays that I've been tossing. I had a really good mind, and now I'm lucky if I can get through a page. You
Mhm.
know, drag. It's a real drag. It's a
It's
drag.
a challenge, but it's like when you're doing a play, you're physically moving around and doing it,
Right.
and by
Yeah.
working on it in
Well,
that
you're
way,
also hearing
it's
somebody
throughout your
else.
whole
Right.
body.
Yeah.
Right. And
So
you're
eventually,
listening
so
to other people, which gives you, you have something to answer to, which makes it easier to remember
yeah.
lines, you know.
Yeah. Do we have information about like how Shakespearean companies would rehearse and practice? And,
Well, we don't have a lot of direct information. There is a very good book um, that tries to delve into that. Some of the best actual things that we get are um, from Midsummer Night's Dream with Peter Quince.
yeah.
The idea of it's like here are your scrolls,
Right.
digging in the scrolls, which showing that they just have their cues and their
That's all
parts to
there is.
learn. I mean, so that's a sense of it. The sense actually that we get, I mean, and from what Patrick Tucker writes about this a lot, and is that they didn't rehearse very much because they were doing so many different plays. I mean, because the one thing that we have as a source material for this is Henslow's diary. Philip Henslow, who ran the Rose Theater, um, and also a brothel that was right next door as well. So which I'm not sure which was the most profitable for him, but he and of course is played by in Shakespeare in Love is Geoffrey Rush. Is a
Yeah.
really great character, and Shakespeare didn't work with him that much, because he was with the Lord Chamberlain's Men, which became the King's Men, and um, the Lord Admiral's Men, I believe, was the company, the resident company that that Henslow did, and we just know we have these listings of these plays, and it's like on this date we did, and that they're different. They would do like they would do 10 different plays in like a 2 week period. And then occasionally they would like repeat a play if it was really popular, but it wasn't the way we have runs of shows now because even though I mean the theater there weren't as many people, and so you
Yeah.
couldn't you had to keep doing new things. So
Well,
so
they
that's
also
the
And
worked
idea
a
is
it
lot
was
that
a guild. It was
on
a guild back
approval.
then,
You
wasn't
know,
it?
the court they were if the courts had to approve too. I mean, even I
oh yeah.
imagine even before the Queen got to see a play, people must have come and seen it before they even presented to her. And well, of course, he wrote plays just for her to see, her, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
from
yeah.
what I
Well, I
read.
mean, yeah, no, that's the point, and that's why like some of these other plays, like Edmund Ironside, which we just read, was again, it was a manuscript that was not approved to be performed. So it wasn't performed back then. I mean, I think the big thing for them in that one was the fact that there was a fight between a couple of
Right.
the Archbishop of York and the Archbishop
Mm,
of Canterbury.
mm,
Um, but that wasn't done,
The
and nor was Sir Thomas More. But what I think is interesting is that they thought they would be able to get it out, a play about Sir Thomas More under Henry VIII's daughter. But it's interesting. I just think that's interesting. But anyways, let me. I just want to do this speech because I've been
okay.
got them. So he's talking about the and the people are really upset because they say the immigrants are taking our jobs, and so we want to remove the immigrants.
Sounds like home, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
what's
Things.
changed?
Yeah, really. That is the thing. It hasn't changed that much. But grant them removed, and grant that this your noise hath chid down all the majesty of England. Imagine that you see the wretched strangers, their babies at their backs, and their poor luggage plodding to the ports and coasts for transportation, and that you sit as kings in your desires, authority quite silent by your brawl, and you in ruff of your opinions clothed. What had you got? I'll tell you, you had taught how insolence and strong hand should prevail, how order should be quelled, and by this pattern not one of you should live an aged man. For other ruffians, as their fancies wrought, with self-same hand, self-reasons, and self-right, would shark on you, and men, like ravenous fishes, would feed on one another. Let me set up before your thoughts, good friends, on supposition, which if you will mark, you shall perceive how horrible a shape your innovation bears. First, 'tis a sin which oft the apostle did forewarn us of, urging obedience to authority, and 'twere no error if I told you all you were in arms against your God himself.
That's great. Did you
Yeah.
memorize that?
Yeah.
No,
No,
I
how
have
you
not.
just
I've memorized. I had memorized part of it, but I'm not.
that's a great speech. That's
It
really
is.
great.
It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, and it's really, it's such. It's all about having compassion for immigrants, and I think
I
that
actually
that's
liked
something.
doing Edward Ironside. It was an interesting
Yeah.
play.
I did too.
Was
Yeah,
it was kind of, that was so
Yeah.
cruel though, so cruel, cutting off hands and noses, which is they did things in that time. They were doing cutting off hands of thieves in the Arab countries. I remember reading in the newspapers how if a thief stole something, they would cut off the person's hand. When rather than sending them to jail, they'd send them to jail and cut their hand off for stealing something. I mean, the cruelty. uh, People have so much cruelty in them that are given power.
Yeah.
Power and
Power
cruelty seem
corrupts.
to go together for some reason.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
What?
yeah,
There's it's an old maxim. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah, right, right.
yeah, yeah. No, and that's what he's. I mean, talking about here that you've shown how that by by this pattern, none of you should live an aged man. If you just let the bullies take over, and
Mhm.
basically.
Yeah.
That was
So,
an interesting play though, because the two opponents, the two kings, and one king says, "I have to stop because I'm losing breath." That was very, very funny to me. I can't go on because I'm losing breath. You know, but in the end, with all the thousands of people died, were killed, and now the two of them decided, oh, we'll just be chums, and have peace. And that's what goes on all the time. I mean, I kind of the abomination of our what's going on. All it's not just our president because it was already happening before, and everybody's making it worse. But the millions of people. I mean, we're trash. that's all we as human beings have become trash. You could just drop a bomb and we're dead. Nobody gives it. We're just we're trash. It's really, my father, I remember thinking it was weird. My father once said, he said, whoop, oh, I just lost my Zoom. Anyway,
Mm.
I remember my father said something, he said, they die like fleas. And I thought, what a strange term to use. But I mean, he was upset about the fact of what I remember what war was going on. It could have been the Vietnam War or something. He was disturbed by people just, being killed. It's
Yeah.
like he was saying like we're nothing, we're just poof, we're gone. We're lucky we're still alive.
Yeah, well, I mean, in King
Was
Lear,
fun.
as flies to wanton boys, so we are to the gods. They kill us for their sport.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it seems our president is having a lot of sport with the Russian president and whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's crazy. It's like, yeah, well, we just hope that they can get to taking care of people because that's really the job. I mean, that
But
all of
the
the leaders of the
devastation,
world.
Yeah, that
that
is a
I see
Yeah,
job.
the news, the devastation, the buildings, homes, death. I mean,
yeah,
people have nothing left. All this for nothing, dust. It's
yeah,
it's in our time. It's like really beyond hope. I mean, the
yeah.
fact that
No,
we live in this time and we've gone through a time of man's humanity to man, if we realize there is no, you know, that's what people say to me, oh, you're just an old hippie. I'm not an old hippie. I can't bear to see what human beings are doing to each other. It's like bad.
yeah,
Bad.
yes, it is, and that's
Bad.
what Shakespeare's showing us in Thomas More's speech there. So, but
Anyway, I'm going to go rest.
okay,
But
well,
Okay.
thank you for doing this, and
yeah,
so
I'll see you
hopefully see you
Saturday.
Saturday for the
Saturday.
poems.
So we'll be reading off the scripts that you sent us. You will put each script up or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
Which one we're doing first, Venus or?
Venus and Adonis first. Yeah,
That's
Okay.
so long. I don't know how we're going to get to others. Are we just going to do pieces of them, or no?
we go the
Okay.
whole way through.
Okay.
So
Oh
we'll
boy.
we'll, we'll
Okay.
do that.
What
We'll see
time is
how we,
Saturday? 1:30?
1 o'clock. One
1
o'clock.
o'clock.
Our
Yeah,
normal
I
starting
can't do
time. So
the play you're doing next Saturday. My son's coming into town, and I got to deal
right.
with
Yeah.
stuff
No. No. Absolutely.
too.
Absolutely. We do
I
enough stuff all year. You got. There'll be plenty of opportunities.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I got
all
to go
right.
buy him bagels at 9 o'clock in the morning. Right? No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not kidding. There's a bagel place, and they line up all around the block. And he's coming into town 11 o'clock Saturday night. But I have a house cleaner on Saturday. That's why I can't read because my house cleaner's here. It sounds like a bad excuse, but I don't know what
It's all
I
right.
don't know what to do with him. I can't sit and read with him cleaning, and then I have to. That's
Yeah.
all. You can live without me this time, I'm sure. Goodbye. Right.
All right.
Right. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Thanks, Jackie.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. So anything else you want to share, or I
Okay.
still
I guess I'm good. We had some fun reading some of our favorite
okay? Well,
pieces.
thank you all so much. Yeah. Thank you. We're still being live streamed, so we're just going to end it here. And yes, if you want to find out more, email instantshakespeare@gmail.com. And perhaps on Saturday you can come and read the poems with us and other things. So Shakespeare.